This is the Altitude Daily Podcast. Everything you can't miss from today on Altitude Sports Radio. Mosher, Lombardi, and Kane.
Two teams that were on the field yesterday. I watched the Chiefs, and I go, how far off is Denver from being that? And I don't think it's far at all. I think they're maybe a step behind. I think if you watch the Chiefs, and I get it, that was a bad game for them, but still, if you watch them throughout the course of the year, they weren't obliterating teams. They were finding ways to win, and that's maybe the one detail that they have that the Broncos don't possess right now. Game's close, end of game situation, Chiefs close. Yeah. The Broncos don't have that at the moment because that takes experience. But all the other stuff, are you really going to sit here and tell me outside of Mahomes, there is anything on Kansas City's roster that is head and shoulders above where Denver is? So I was just trying to compare. I'm like, how far off are you from Kansas City? And I tried to go just like position by position. Quarterback, obviously, they got the leg up. They got Mahomes. Okay, fine. But here's what I was kind of asking myself. I think that Courtland Sutton is a good wide receiver. I don't know if he's great, but he's good. If I put him on the Chiefs, is he their best playmaker? Because he might be.
Dude,
it's not Kelsey anymore.
I knew their game was over when Homeboy dropped that pass wide open.
Hopkins.
Yes, wide open. It was over before then, but
Vic, their best playmakers are a 36-year-old Kelsey, 32-year-old Hopkins, and a 29-year-old Kareem Hunt.
Xavier Worthy looked pretty good when he caught that. Listen, we weren't saying that 2 weeks ago. We were saying,
I've been saying this all year that the Chiefs' offense isn't great.
But 2 weeks ago, it was like, oh my God, look at how many options he has. And
I've been saying all year this Chiefs offense is nothing special. It's obvious. They barely scored 30 points this year. Ever. Like, this is not a surprise. They won games by doing two things. They played really good defense, and they didn't turn the ball over, and they would close when the game was close.
If it was close, they would close. Exactly right.
That was their formula all year. But then I take it to the other side. So I don't think they're that far off from Kansas City. I really don't. I know Kansas City won 17 games or whatever this year. There is not a single, like, if you're a Broncos or Chargers fan, not one of you should be thinking that the division is for sure Kansas City's next year.
You know what
shouldn't be.
What's crazy is you go back now and look at the playoff run. The team that played Philly the closest, because they really handled everybody, were the LA Rams.
Yeah.
Hell, you could say the LA Rams should have beaten Philly.
Mm-hmm.
They had the ball in the red zone with a chance to win the game.
Yep.
In Philly.
And that's the next question. Okay. So I think they're pretty close to Kansas City. How far off are they from Philly? A ways.
The Altitude Daily. The Morning Sprint.
That played out as perfectly as possible. From start to finish, 40-22 is your final. Eagles over the Chiefs. A three-peat? No. The greatest of all time? Not so fast, my friend Patrick Mahomes. The worst game we have ever seen that guy play. And I was drinking tears, just licking them up off the floor. I could not get enough. That game was toast at halftime to the point where people in our text thread were going, well, do we just go watch something else? Hell no, you don't. I'm going to watch this decapitation the entire way through. That was amazing, Coach Stanford. No notes. No notes.
The Morning Sprint.
This might be a slap in the face to Jalen now that he's a Super Bowl MVP, but Jalen feels Nixy, right? Like he's not going to... Does Jalen wow you with anything? He wowed me with his legs last night.
I thought he was unbelievable throwing the football.
I know. You said the CPOE, I know.
But his downfield throwing, Raj, is really good. He doesn't miss, man. He doesn't miss
throws. He didn't miss Devonta. We saw Bo start to connect on that later on the season.
I agree, but this guy doesn't miss throws, and he does have a very strong arm. He's got a very strong arm. He has the ability to drive the football down the field into tight windows. The guy is good. And all people want to do is talk about him from a place of bias because of his acumen as a runner, that he's not a good passer. I've been fighting City Hall on that for the entire year, Raj. Like, Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback. You don't win the Super Bowl MVP award as a quarterback by being just pedestrian. You don't get to it twice in your first 4 years.
Should have won it twice.
You don't win the Heisman Trophy after getting benched at Alabama for Tua Tagovailoa, and then you go to Oklahoma, win the dang Heisman Trophy because you're not very good. The guy has great wiring, which I do think is Bo Nix-ish.
All right, so that's where my head is going. I've been trying.
I do think there's a maturity and there's no pettiness to the way Jalen Hurts goes about his business.
He does. This is who I am. This is what I'm designed to do, and I'm going to do it. It doesn't feel like Jalen ever plays out of his box, and I don't think Bo is going to be that either.
I agree with that.
The Altitude Daily. Columbus, Hastings, and DMAC.
All right, Deebo Samuel. Should the Broncos try to go get Deebo Samuel?
I want them to, yeah. And I'm generally speaking not that type of guy. I don't love trades, generally speaking. I don't love paying dudes that have been very, very hurt over the course of their career. But I think what you got to do, and it probably would not happen because he's going to want a new deal right now. It would be awesome if you could trade for him on a 1-year rental. That'd be really cool because then you could make a commitment in a couple months down the road. But Deebo wants out for a reason. And the reason he wants out is not just he's unhappy with his production, which he is a little bit unhappy with what happened last year, but it's because his contract is up at the end of 2025. So wherever he goes, he's expecting probably $30 million per year from that team. I think it's very difficult to find a free agent wide receiver that is worthy of that money. And I think you've been trying to convince ourselves, not you, us, that T. Higgins would be worthy of that type of money. If Deebo Samuel was nothing but a healthy wide receiver, he's worth that money and more. Mm-hmm. He's worth every last dollar that you could give him. He's the best joker in the NFL. If we're looking for a joker, that is the best joker in the NFL. And so I guess where I'm at on Deebo Samuel, yeah, I want him. I want to trade for him, and I guess if that means I got to give him a new contract, I'll give him a new contract. I'll cross my fingers and I'll hope and pray because I'm not worried about production. He's proven he's willing to produce after he gets paid. He's already gotten paid once. He got a $70 million deal, so I'm not worried about him being motivated. The only real concern with Deebo is health.
Well, he played 15 of the 17 this year, 15 of the 17 last year. Was 22 still a 16-game season?
Yes.
So he missed 3 games that year. 21, he played all the games. And the year before, his second year in the league, he missed 9.
Wait, so he did have 1 year he played every game?
21.
Okay. I didn't think he even had 1 year, but okay.
Yeah, and he had, of course, that's the year he also had only 77 receptions, but 1,400 yards, 18.5 a carry, but only 6 touchdowns.
I'm telling you, he's the best. He is the best joker in the NFL. If our goal is to get a joker, well, that's the best one in the NFL.
It's crazy what's going on here with his cap hit, though. If they were to trade him before June 1st, they would absorb a $31 million dead cap hit. If he is the post-June 1st thing, it'll decrease to $10,700,000 over the next couple of years. John Lynch has said there's no way we're going to release him. So it's a bit of a game of chicken right now if another team wants to get him.
The Altitude Daily. Kretman and Lindahl.
Did you have a favorite Super Bowl commercial?
I'm not as into the commercials. I'm gonna lean towards the funny ones. I did get a chuckle, of course, out of the Dunkin' Donuts. I thought the Harry Met Sally one, good effort, but not quite there.
Meg Ryan's had some work done. Have you noticed?
Yeah, they all have at this point. You see the Friends reunion. I would also say, or Jerry Jones. I saw one on Twitter today about Seinfeld.
What's your point?
Did you see the Seinfeld George one where did you invite me over for the chips? You didn't drop a chip?
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was fine, but I wouldn't say there was one that's going to be like, wow, that's going to stick with me forever.
The only LOL moment I had during the commercials, and I also will admit I don't care, but the one that made me LOL was the Mountain Dew commercial with Seal.
That was weird to me, man. That was weird.
Seal was a seal.
I know, and it was weird.
And it made me laugh.
It was just so weird.
Very weird.
Yeah.
But I laughed. I have to admit, it got me for a moment. So that
what was bothering me? I don't know what the deal was. One was Pringles, and then the other was I didn't like the flying. I don't need the mustache flying around off people, and I didn't need what's the actor's Eugene Levy?
Eugene Levy, yeah.
Eyebrows flying everywhere.
Uh-huh.
That was grossing me out a little bit. Now I did get a chuckle when who was it that kept James Harden's mustache, you wouldn't give it back. That gave me a small chuckle at the end, but that's as close as we got.
Yeah, again, the Super Bowl commercials are one of my problems with Super Bowl commercials is like I don't need to get that jacked for the premiere of the commercial because I'm about to see all of these 8,000 times.
You put a lot of money into it.
Yeah.
But is this
we get it. Dan Campbell's working at Applebee's. Okay.
Is this still the pop culture icon it once was?
Yeah, I think so.
See, I feel like so many kids are on YouTube, they don't care about these commercials. They can skip them at any time. I feel like the commercials kind of lost some of its juice, but maybe it's just because, the skin cowboy hats, don't ever want to see that again.
Yeah. No, I wasn't a fan.
That was not good.
No, I didn't like that one. I agree. Thank you. I didn't care for that.
I don't know, man. We're a long way from the Budweiser frogs or the Was Up or whatever.
It's the Super Bowl is the snapshot of the culture in the moment.
Right.
And that's what it's there to provide for you. And I guess I appreciate that part of it. But yeah, again, like getting too jazzed about the commercials, that just feels like something out of a bygone era.
And you know what? I appreciate whatever your efforts are, but the Harrison Ford one, I was like, wow, you were really spending a lot of money to just tell me drive Ford or drive Jeep instead of Ford. You know what I mean?
Cool, Carl.
God,
Get it, his name.
Am I supposed to go on out to Yellowstone or something? Relax.
Yeah, It was a little much.
And he was all grumpy. I'm going to talk in my grumpy guy voice like I'm Clint Eastwood and
I think that's kind of Harrison
Gran Torino.
I think that's baseline Harrison Ford. I think that's what he's mostly like.
All right.
Yeah. I think in real life he's not nearly as charming as Han Solo.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I've heard. You heard he and Brad Pitt during the Devil's Own. They aren't having any reunions of that cast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've been listening to The Altitude Daily. Catch us live weekdays on 92.5 FM, the Altitude Sports Radio app, twitch.tv/AltitudeSR, youtube.com/Altitude Sports Radio, and your favorite smart speaker. Say Altitude Sports Radio.